Hi guys, Jean here. Yeah, I'm in my outdoor office today. I just took a nice long walk, um, on the path by the river and basically in nature. And as you can see, my outdoor office is in nature as well. I thought I just walked past, and then I was like, you know what? I have my tripod and my mic, which I hope I have turned it on, and maybe I can just sit and have a little conversation about this whole idea on retirement, right? For me, I say it is my journey to retirement. Not exactly, I'm not exactly retired. I am heading back out to my seasonal job in basically 2 weeks. And I will be in that job for 6 months. And I've been working seasonal work for 12 years now. This is going to be my 12th season. So, technically speaking, um, I work 6 months of the year, and the other 6 months of the year, I actually am on EI. And I'm saying that to say that it is actually more affordable. It's better for me to be on EI than for me to take a job because it would just be about the same amount. So I get a chance to do, to do all the things that I do not do. Like one of the things I do, I would go to Grenada, usually around the end of October or November, and I would stay for a period of 4 to 5 months and then come back into the country by April. So normally in that time, I'm not taking an income as well, but usually if I'm on the island, the last time I was there, I actually made buns and sold those buns to local people, coconut buns, that is. And I don't know if you have ever followed me before, but I used to make coconut buns on the island as a fun way to have to generate an income. So, in this whole idea, I'm going to just, so if you haven't been on my channel before, if it's first time you're here, my name is Jean Roberts. I'm actually from Grenada, a small island in the Caribbean, but I live in Canada. I live in Kenmore, Alberta, which is a small mountain town right next to Canada Leiden National Park, which is where I work and have been working for a long time. I'm a government worker, and I think you call that corporate. I don't know. I hang out on a campground all summer. I'm outside all summer. I get to see, all the animals, all the summer animals like the bear and the, fox and all the things, wolf, whatever is happening, the elk, the deer, the mountain goats, all the reason why people come into the national park. I get to live that every summer. And I've been living out here now for, I would say, 28 years, just about 28 years. We're 26 and I came in 98. Yeah, so 28 years now I've been living out in this neck of the woods. 3 years in this part of it in Kenmore and 25 in Banff, right? So we are looking at this whole idea, in this idea of retirement um, in the non-conventional way. Um, Plus, I don't even know what is the conventional way of retirement because we live in a system that that tell us that we need, as a single person, we would need $30,000 a year for retirement, and that is, it all depends, um, which work out to be, at least we would need about $500,000. I'm just rounding it up to there, and that's just going to last us for 20 years, really, not even 30 years. It's going to last for like 20 years. So that depends on if when we retire. So for instance, if I retire at 70 and I have 20 years, that means I'm going to, uh, I'm good until I'm 90, and all of that depends. I'm not sure what I'll be doing in my late 80s and 90 that I'm going to need, X amount of money. So for me, when I think about it, and because I'm in the process of, um, understanding for myself what my needs are. Um, I am in a position where I wouldn't say luck. I don't really believe in this whole idea of being lucky. Um, but for me, I've been fortunate, and I love this word. And I have a friend that do not love it when I say fortunate. She think it's an old word, but I have been fortunate in my lifetime to actually be born on a Caribbean island and to actually live in Canada because I'm naturalized here in Canada, but I was born in Grenada, and for me that makes me a very rich person, not money rich, but location rich. Um, if I move to the Caribbean, my plan actually, I do have a plan and I'll share my plan with you. But then I probably would just speak a little bit about some ideas that you can have if you're in the position where you live in paycheck to paycheck. Like myself, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I do have a little investment here. I just I start building back some investment here and all of that. And so we do have this little thing of if I my plan is, sorry, excuse me for muffling that, but that happens sometimes when I'm outside and I don't have some notes, because I do like to have some notes when I'm making my videos. I don't do scripts, but notes is always good for me because it keeps me grounded. So let's get back on it. My plan is to go to and be in the Caribbean, in Grenada, in the winter months. So, of course, the Caribbean is always summer, but when it's winter here, I'll go there, which is, between November and April, this time of year. And then I'll return here in the summertime so that I can work my summer job. I've done that from time to time. There have been years when that didn't happen, like in 2020, I didn't go because it was the pandemic, and 2019, I had made a decision not to go because I was going to go in 2020. And then, so by the time I went in 2021, and I went 2021 and stay until 2022, I didn't go 2023 because I went to university, but then I went back in 2024 and so on and so forth, right? Um, so I do have a plan to go there in the winter time, and we are building a house there. So ultimately, I'm going to have security in my housing, which we are building it cash, which is really going slowly, because I would not get a mortgage from the bank at my age. I'm in my 60s, early 60s, but my brother is billing, and he has always wanted to bill cash. So it's taken slower because we already run out of some of the money that we have put into the house. But anyway, I invest, my son invests, and my brother has been the bigger investment person, but we all going to work that out at some point, right? And I have land there. So ultimately, although my land is very steep, I can work something out and put a small, tiny house on the land and enjoy, um, my time there in the winter time when I'm there. Now, ultimately, when I'm there, I can do little things to generate income, because when I'm in Grenada, or anyone in Grenada would tell you, you can just open a business anytime you want. You don't really have to go to the bureau and get a business license and do all of that stuff. Now, it is important that you should do that stuff, but you don't have to. Most people on the island would just kind of, put a sign by their home and sell whatever it is they're selling. Case in point, when I was there in 2024, 2025, because it's crossover, what I did, I decided to make coconut buns, traditional, authentic coconut buns, and sell it for the local people. Now, I had never made a bun before. I didn't know how to bake. I'm not a baker. I haven't, since I came back, I haven't even baked a bread. But I was intrigued and I thought this is something that I can do. And it gave me a cash flow almost every day. And I did it my way, the way that I want to run a business. I didn't just make buns and then sell. And at the end of the day, I am left with a whole bunch of buns. I did my business in the sense where I asked people to pre order and then I make the buns for the people that order. So I am never left with leftover buns. Right. So, and I had this thing where I would bake two days a week. Sometimes I bake on a Wednesday and I bake on a Friday. So again, I'm not spending all my days baking, and I can actually bake 3 days a week as well. Now, this is ideas for you, ways that you can actually generate an income. Excuse me, even if you need a business license, but most tongue you don't have to pay a lot for a business license. But please know, if you're a person that love making cookies, you can make cookies and start selling it to your neighbors. If you're a person that really love raw food and you like making those raw those raw nutritional balls and all these different things, or you like to make brownies, or you're very good on doing the things where you do not need the health services to come in and see what your kitchen look like, or whatever your craft is. You see people doing that a lot of the time. What we do is like, we are convinced that we are not good at something, that we cannot generate an income for whatever reason. Um, but we can, because if I can go to Grenada as a Canadian, well, Canadian, but nonetheless being on holiday and still create a business, anyone can do it. I know it's easy for me to say, but my point is, give it some thought, right? So that is part of my retirement plan, where I live there and then I come here and work. The problem with that plan is that rent here in Canada is very highly expensive. And if I have an apartment and I give up my apartment to go to Grenada, when I come back, I have no place to stay. I'll have to look for somewhere new to stay, which is going to cost me more money because I don't own a home here. I rent. And now, one of the things that I do, I sublet my house when I sublet my space, my apartment, my space in my apartment. I sublet it when I'm going on these kind of a journeys, because I leave someone paying my rent, and I don't have to worry about it. And I sublet it for the time that I'm going to be away. So it works for both me and the person. They have an idea when they need to leave. Usually, it's very good for people that in a bit of a transition, I would say. Yes, sorry, people are passing. So and not only transition, but there's a lot of the time. Um, we have foreign workers and we have people that come on working holiday visa, they come and they want to land somewhere while they look for a job and find a place to stay. So subletting around the time like November is a good time to sublet, because we do get a lot of working holiday people that come into this town that come to ski. And if I go for the ski season, that is ideal for a person that is coming for 4 or 5 months for the ski season. So it works out for me as well. I just have to ask my landlord, who says yes. So there's a lot of ways that I I get creative in saving money, because then I don't have to pay rent here. I can go down and hang out in Grenada there. And when I'm in Grenada, for right now, I live in a family home and I don't have to pay rent there either. But I do have to, I do have to give income. I do give some income. I don't necessarily say, well, here is $1,000 for my stay here today or tomorrow, because I'm sharing. And so, but I do actually, contribute to the income, to their income there. I contribute. And not that I'm saying it, possibly next time I have to do a bigger contribution, but I always contribute in a proper way. At least I believe that. I may have to ask this question to my sister. if she thinks I do a good contribution, and maybe I need to change that, right? But my point is, take from what I'm saying, I sublet my place if I'm traveling, so that way I really and truly just buying my ticket to get there. And when I get there, I'm living in a family home, so my expense for accommodation is very little. And most of what I do is free. I like the beach. I go to the beach every day. There's free to go to the beach. Buying a lunch there is like $15. So having a lunch on the beach is not expensive. Buying a drink, I don't drink. So buying a soft drink, roughly it's about $5. Cost of living is high there as well, but the island itself is full of fruits and vegetables, and it's green and everything is growing all the time. There's always some kind of a food that you can get that is in the season. Food is spoiling, especially fruits and especially fruits. So there's always that there. So there's a way to maintain and be on a nice, clean, thin budget when I'm there, without having to worry about any of that. um, so that is something that is important to me. Sorry, I just saw a text come in, that's so I was looking. So this is stuff to really, so you may not be a person that travel from place to place, but um, there are things that you can do short term to get yourself ahead of the game. For instance, if you live in paycheck to paycheck and you know that if you battle down and you may have to take a part-time job, maybe a job that give you 2 extra hour, or you may want to go and walk some dogs, or as I say, sell the cookies, or you're a seamstress, you want to sew and help people, whatever it is that you pick up to do, you can do it for a period of time. You do not have to do it for a lifetime. You do not have to do it forever. So when it comes to the unconventional retirement, for me, I really have to sit and ask myself, what is going to be beneficial to me? And for instance, in the next 15 years, I might be healthy, moving around, and I'm hoping I don't need assistance, by the time I'm 90. I'm hoping that I can live without assistance until then. However, but if I have to live with assistance, say I give myself 20 years, I'm giving myself until I'm 80, where I don't have to live with an assistance. It is snowing, very likely, but it's a little cooler outside today, and it's snowing, which is always a thing. Especially in April, and it's the 15th, when the weather should be much better than it is. But anyways, as I was saying, you can always do something that beneficial to you in a short term way. It doesn't have to be the be all to end all. And I think that's where the crisis come in. We only sit in the big picture of it and not breaking it down. um, how do I get from point A to point B? I'm going to take one step at a time. Okay, so it might be a challenge to save. You may not be able to save or to be able to live on $30,000 a year, right? You may not have that in retirement, but maybe you can find a way to live on $20,000 or even $15,000 a year, right? And what are some of the ways you can do that? Well, downsize, share, find a group of older people that may, people, like-minded people, or people at your age that wants to live together and share a house. And yeah, be okay with sharing the bathroom, as long as you have your own bedroom, your own space. You can go to your bedroom, you can relax, you can put a chair in there that you can sit and read. You have your own laptop, you can watch your own show. All these things, you do not have to get into conflict with the people that you're living with. And I think that when we are not willing to get out of the box that we build for ourselves, we do not get ahead, right? We do not get ahead, and we do have to learn to get out of the box we build for ourselves. Anyways, I think I'm going to leave this here. And some of the things that I say that you can do unconventionally as you move into retirement is you can if you're going somewhere, you can sublet your place. If you have a place, if you're renting, you can ask your landlord and still get it subletted. If you're living in a place that you have more than one bedroom, you can always rent a room temporary. It doesn't have to be written in stone. It doesn't have to be done for a few years. You can do it 6 months at a time or 3 months at a time. You can also, do something with your hands, whether it's making cookies, um, and sometimes you're not really, it helps you to generate an income, so it doesn't necessarily make you rich money wise, or you may not have the biggest profit, but the fact that you're doing something that brings you joy and that you're sharing with people and then it's giving you an income, that is going to help your overall look on life, or you can get a part-time job, temporary. It doesn't have to be written in stone, because a lot of time when we are desolate, we think that to do the thing, it has to be a big thing. I was just listening to one of my favorite money podcasts with Ramit Sethi, whom I love. I was just listening to him, and I'm listening to this woman go on and on and on. She's living in Colombia. Her husband is already working and making money, but she refused to take a job because it's minimum wage. Um, instead of looking at it as a temporary thing, and saying, okay, this is temporary. I really want to work. I really want to add to bring something to the table. Although it seems like we can live um, on my husband income, I don't feel comfortable that way. So here I am, I can make, just about $2,000 a month. It's not the same I would make if I'm living in Canada, because they are living somewhere in South America. Um, but it's feasible, because together with my husband income, that is going to count for a lot. I can probably do a few things for myself with myself, right? But she wouldn't do it. She has bill a box. It's minimum wage. She will make that in Canada. Is the same as, there's a whole story. And let's face it, rent is higher up here. There's so many things that she boxed herself in at. And the truth is, it's our mindset. It all comes down to how we relate to things and what we are willing to shift our mind to. It comes back to that. So, please know that you can retire and really have what you want in retirement. You can move to a homestead. You can go you can go work and live somewhere. You can find out in your community what you can do in there. There's so many ways to do it. But today, I'm going to stop my video here. I hope you got some good information from this video in my outdoor office, and I'm so glad I did it outdoors in my outdoor office and just playing with you guys. Anyways, do less, be more, subscribe to my channel, and like my channel, and share this with your friends. The ones that you want to come into the same environment, and maybe able, you guys can build a community together, become community minded, and really, there is lots of templates online that you can follow, and research you can do. Become community oriented. Talk to you guys soon.